Story 1, Footsteps in my room. Someone was inside my house, and it wasn't my brother. The doorknob rattled slowly, deliberately. Then my bedroom door creaked open. Someone was inside the house with me, and it wasn't my brother. In that frozen moment, my mind raced through every horror story I'd ever heard. I wondered if this was how it all ended for me. I was 13 years old at the time, living in a spacious old two-story house on the outskirts of Denver, Colorado. Our home had high-vaulted ceilings, creaky hardwood floors, and large windows that looked harmless during the day, but turned unsettling at night. When my family was home, the house felt warm and alive. When it was empty, it felt isolating, almost too quiet. That night, my parents were heading to a dinner party. They left me in the care of my 19-year-old brother, Ethan. As their car disappeared down the driveway, excitement bubbled inside me. The whole house felt like it was mine, a small taste of independence. Before I could enjoy it too much, Ethan pulled me aside. He whispered that he planned to hang out with friends and begged me not to tell our parents. I agreed without hesitation. He was my hero, and the idea of being alone felt thrilling. He warned me he'd be grounded if they found out, which somehow made it even more exciting. Then he slipped out the front door. I was completely alone. I went down to the den, picked a horror thriller that everyone at school had been talking about, dimmed the lights, and pressed play. At first it was fun, but as the sun dipped below the horizon and the wind picked up outside, the house seemed to turn against me. Floorboards groaned like slow footsteps. Tree branches scraped the windows like fingernails. Even the refrigerator jolted to life, making me spill popcorn all over the carpet. Halfway through the movie, I kept glancing at the staircase. I was convinced that if I looked long enough, I'd see a dark figure standing there. The fear wasn't just from the film anymore. My imagination had taken control. My chest tightened. My breast grew shallow. I shut off the TV and bolted upstairs, my heart pounding as the darkness seemed to chase me. In my bedroom, cluttered with posters, a messy desk, and piles of clothes, I rushed into the adjoining bathroom. I brushed my teeth at record speed, splashed cold water on my face, and tried to calm myself down. But the unease stayed. To distract myself, I turned on my PlayStation and loaded up a zombie game. The bright screen and loud sound effects helped push the creeping fear away. I played for hours, losing track of time as frustration replaced fear. Eventually, exhaustion took over. I powered everything down and collapsed onto my bed, pulling the covers over my head. That's when I felt it. A subtle vibration, the sound of the front door closing. Relief washed over me instantly. Ethan was back. I lay there listening for his familiar routine, his heavy footsteps, the way he usually slammed his bedroom door. But instead, I heard something else. Soft shuffling, odd, careful thumps coming from downstairs. My stomach twisted. Maybe the movie had messed with my head. Maybe he was just being quiet. I sat up and listened harder. The sounds weren't random. They were deliberate. Someone was moving through the house, slowly. I crept to the window and peeked outside. The driveway was empty. No Jeep. Panic hit me like a freight train. Cold sweat soaked my skin. There was no smartphone in my room, and the landline was downstairs, unreachable. My heart hammered as I checked my bedroom door. The lock felt flimsy. I knew it wouldn't hold if someone tried hard enough. My eyes landed on the small built-in closet in the wall. I slipped inside, pulling the door shut as quietly as I could. I curled into a tight ball among dusty boxes and hanging clothes. The confined space smelled of mothballs, but it felt like a sanctuary. I forced myself to breathe silently. Seconds stretched into minutes. Minutes felt like hours. Then, the doorknob. It jiggled. The hinges creaked. Footsteps entered my room. slow, measured. Each step sent vibrations through the floor and into my bones. Drawers opened. My desk was rummaged through. I bit my lip to keep from whimpering as tears streamed down my face. What was he looking for? What if he found me? I imagined the closet door being ripped open, a stranger's face staring down at me. No escape. Then I heard something heavier being dragged. A backpack, maybe. Eventually, the footsteps faded. I didn't move for what felt like forever. Nearly 2 hours passed before I finally heard Ethan's real voice calling my name, frantic and confused. My legs trembled as I stumbled out of the closet. He stared at me in shock. "What are you doing in there?" he asked. "And why is my room trashed?" That's when we both realized the truth. It hadn't been him. We searched the house together, clutching flashlights. Drawers were pulled out, cabinets stood open. Laptops, game consoles, speakers, even my mom's jewelry were gone. It was a burglary, calm, methodical. Ethan called 911 with a shaking voice. We barricaded ourselves in the den until police arrived. They took statements, dusted for fingerprints, and told me I'd done the right thing by hiding. My parents came home around 4 in the morning. My dad was furious. My mom cried and hugged me tightly, shaking as she whispered how lucky I was. After that night, everything changed. Ethan got a job to help replace what was stolen. The house got security cameras, and I never felt completely safe in the dark again. Even now as an adult, I double-check locks. I avoid being alone in large houses at night because that night taught me how fragile safety really is and how easily a home can turn from a haven into a nightmare. Story 2, the knife at my throat. He pressed the cold tip of a kitchen knife against my stomach and asked if I wanted him to gut me like a fish. I was 5 years old, and the man holding it was someone I'd trusted my whole short life. Our friendly neighbor, now transformed into a monster by alcohol and dark intentions. Life after my parents' messy divorce was a whirlwind of changes. I ended up moving in with my grandparents in a quaint rural community just outside Calgary, Canada. A place of rolling fields, dense evergreen forests, and gravel roads where pickup trucks were the norm. Their home was a modest single-story ranch with a wraparound porch, creaky wooden floors, and a big kitchen that always smelled of fresh baked bread or stew simmering on the stove. Dad had taken a job in the bustling city nearby, visiting only on weekends with gifts and stories of urban adventures. My uncle Liam, Dad's laid-back younger brother, lived with us too, filling the house with his guitar strumming and jokes, ensuring I was never truly isolated in that close-knit town where everyone waved hello and knew your name. The community was idyllic, summer barbecues in backyards, kids playing tag across lawns, and neighbors helping each other with everything from fixing fences to sharing garden produce. One such neighbor was Harold, a burly man in his 40s living in the house next door, separated only by a low wooden fence in a shared apple tree. He was a fixture in our lives, dropping by to watch intense hockey matches on TV with Grandpa, lending a hand with truck repairs in the driveway, or joining Uncle Liam for cold beers on the porch as the sun set. When Grandpa returned triumphant from hunting trips with a deer slung in the truck bed, Harold was always there, sleeves rolled up, helping haul it to the shed for processing, their laughter echoing through the crisp air. To my young eyes, he was Uncle Harold, a jolly giant who tossed me candy and ruffled my hair, making me giggle. But one fateful evening shattered that innocence. Grandma had her routine bingo night at the local community hall, a social highlight where she'd laugh with friends over cards and prizes. She'd called Grandpa to come pick her up when it wrapped up. He offered to bundle me into the truck for the short drive, but I stubbornly refused. My favorite cartoon marathon was on the old boxy TV in the living room, and I was glued to the screen, munching on apple slices. Grandpa knelt down to my level, his kind eyes serious as he repeated the golden rule. Never open the door for strangers, okay, buddy? Promise me. I nodded solemnly, and with a kiss on my forehead, he headed out, the truck's engine rumbling to life and fading down the road. The house settled into an unusual quiet, broken only by the cartoon voices and my occasional laughter. I sprawled on the worn couch, surrounded by throw pillows and a knitted blanket Grandma had made, feeling grown up in my solitude. Barely 5 minutes passed when a firm knock echoed from the front door. Curious but cautious, I patted over in my socks and called out loudly, "Who is it?" Harold's recognizable deep voice replied from the other side, casual as ever, saying he'd just seen Grandpa's truck pull away and wondered if he could come in for a chat. I hesitated, peeking through the small window beside the door. It was indeed him, standing there in his usual flannel shirt. I told him no one was home, adding that Uncle Liam was out too. Harold chuckled, mentioning he'd just talked to Liam on the phone and knew he was at a buddy's place having drinks. Then with a friendly tone, he asked again to wait inside until someone returned. The rule nagged at me, no strangers. But Harold insisted, "Come on, kid, I'm not a stranger. You've known me since you could walk. We're practically family." My 5-year-old logic wrestled with it. He was right. He came over all the time, played catch with me in the yard, even helped me build a snowman last winter. How could he be a stranger? Against my better instincts, I twisted the lock and swung the door open. Harold loomed large in the doorway, his frame filling the space, but something was off. He swayed unsteadily, his breath reeking of beer even from a distance, his eyes red-rimmed and unfocused. He stepped inside without waiting, closing the door behind him, and immediately placed his large, calloused hands on my small shoulders, guiding me backward into the hallway. I backed up instinctively, a flicker of unease stirring, but I'd seen Uncle Liam wobbly after a few drinks before, laughing it off, so I tried to brush it aside. Politely, I suggested he sit at the kitchen table, a sturdy oak piece where we ate family meals, while I went back to my cartoons. But his grip didn't loosen. Instead, it tightened, fingers digging in just enough to hurt. His face, usually jovial, contorted into something darker, his voice shifting to a low, angry slur as he muttered incoherent threats that sent ice through my veins. The exact words escape me now, buried in trauma, but the fear they evoked is etched forever, a primal terror that made my knees weak and my stomach churn. He dragged me roughly into the kitchen, my tiny feet scrambling for purchase on the linoleum floor. I twisted and pulled, trying to break free, but it was futile against his strength. Reaching the counter, he yanked the largest carving knife from the wooden block, the one Grandma used for slicing roasts, its blade glinting under the overhead light. He jabbed the sharp tip against my belly, just hard enough to prick through my shirt, and growled, "You want me to stick this in you, huh? Gut you like one of your grandpa's deer?" Hot tears blurred my vision. I sobbed openly, begging him to stop. He snarled to shut up or he'd slice my tongue out, then demonstrated by dragging the flat, dull side of the blade slowly across my throat, the cold metal raising goosebumps and making me freeze in absolute horror. In that endless second, my world shrank to the knife's edge and the mad look in his eyes. But then, salvation, the crunch of tires on gravel outside, Grandpa's truck pulling up unexpectedly early. Hope exploded in my chest. I drew in a breath to scream for help. Harold's hand clamped over my mouth like a vice, muffling my cries, his other arm pinning me as he spun us both toward the doorway. Grandma entered first, her purse over her shoulder, a cheerful greeting dying on her lips as she took in the scene. Me held hostage, knife gleaming. Her face drained of color, she let out a blood-curdling scream. "John, get in here now!" Grandpa burst through the door moments later, his hunting boots thudding heavily. His eyes widened in shock, then narrowed in pure, unbridled rage as he assessed the situation. "What the hell are you doing? Let him go!" he bellowed, voice like thunder, charging forward without hesitation. Harold, startled, shoved me hard to the floor. I hit the ground with a painful thud, scraping my elbow. Grandma rushed over, gathering me into her arms, turning my face away from the fray and whispering frantic comforts. "It's okay, sweetie. You're safe. Shh." Her own voice trembling as she rocked me. The sounds of the struggle filled the kitchen. Grunts of effort, furniture scraping, fists connecting with flesh, curses flying. Grandpa, a strong man hardened by years of manual labor and hunting, quickly overpowered Harold, pinning him against the wall before marching him out the door with a vice-like grip on his collar. "Get out and never come back, you bastard!" Grandpa roared, slamming the door so hard the windows rattled. He locked it, then returned to us, his face flushed but composed, pulling us both into a fierce hug. As the years passed and I grew, the full implications dawned on me. Harold hadn't just stumbled over drunk, he'd planned it. He'd been watching the house, noting Grandma's bingo schedule, Uncle Liam's outings, Grandpa's departure. He waited for the perfect window when only a vulnerable child was home. His motives, likely predatory, fueled by intoxication and opportunity, chilled me to the core. The betrayal from someone I'd seen as family left a deep wound, eroding my innate trust in people. Decades later, at Grandpa's funeral, as we sat in the quiet living room reminiscing over photo albums and coffee, I brought up that night, praising Grandpa's heroism. Grandma's smile faltered. She shifted uncomfortably in her chair, her knitting needles pausing. She admitted it was one of the most terrifying moments of her life, then hesitantly mentioned Grandpa's unusual hunting trip right after, leaving late at night without his usual rifle or gear, just driving off into the darkness. When I pressed for details, she claimed foggy memory, changing the subject quickly. "We never involved the police. No report was filed, no charges pressed. And Harold? He disappeared from the town entirely after that evening. His house sold quietly months later. Grandpa was a pillar of the community, active in the local church, buddies with half the police force, renowned as the best hunter in the county with trophies lining his den. No one would bat an eye at odd sights like a stained tarp bundled in his truck bed as he drove out under the cover of night, heading toward the remote woods. That incident reshaped my worldview, a mix of profound gratitude for Grandpa's swift action and haunting, unanswered questions about what really happened afterward. The child's raw fear evolved into an adult's cautious vigilance, a reminder that monsters can hide behind familiar smiles. Story 3, The Shadow That Knew My Name. I woke in pitch darkness to find a tall, silent figure standing mere feet from my bed, watching me sleep. He'd been in the house all day, learning my name, waiting for night, and in that heart-stopping instant, I realized escape might be impossible. I was 11 at the time, living in a bright, welcoming, two-story suburban home in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. The neighborhood was classic Americana, palm trees lining the streets, kids skateboarding on smooth sidewalks, houses with stucco exteriors, red-tiled roofs, and manicured lawns watered by automatic sprinklers. Our place had a spacious backyard with a swing set I was almost too old for, a garage filled with bikes and tools, and a basketball hoop mounted above the wide concrete driveway where I'd spend hours perfecting my jump shot. It was a safe, sunny haven, or so I thought. That memorable Saturday unfolded under a cloudless blue sky, the air warm and dry with that distinctive desert scent of creosote bushes after a rare rain. Mom was gearing up for her weekly big grocery haul at the superstore across town, stocking up on everything from snacks to household essentials. She invited me to tag along, promising ice cream on the way back, but I whined and begged to stay home. All I wanted was uninterrupted time to play basketball outside, dribbling around imaginary defenders, sinking buzzer beaters, narrating my own NBA finals in my head. After a back-and-forth debate at the kitchen table, complete with my dramatic pleas and promises to be careful, she relented. Lock the doors, don't answer for anyone, and keep the cordless phone in your pocket, she instructed sternly, hugging me before grabbing her purse and keys. As her minivan backed out and disappeared down the street, I whooped in victory, snatching my well-worn basketball from the garage shelf. The ball's familiar bounce on the driveway was music to my ears. I spent the next hour or so in bliss, practicing free throws, crossover dribbles, even setting up little challenges like hitting 10 shots in a row from different spots. Sweat beaded on my forehead, my t-shirt clinging, but the joy of solitude and play kept me going. Pausing finally to catch my breath, I bounced the ball idly, scanning the quiet neighborhood. A neighbor mowing their lawn a few houses down, kids laughing on bikes in the distance, birds chirping from the cacti. That's when I glanced up at our house. In the upstairs window of my older brother's room, empty since he'd left for college a state away, a shadowy figure stood, slightly recessed from the glaring sunlight, but unmistakably there. It wasn't a reflection or curtain trick. The shape shifted ever so slightly, as if adjusting to watch me better. My blood ran cold. No one should be home. Brother gone for the semester, Dad pulling overtime at his office job, Mom en route to the store. The ball slipped from my fingers, bounding away into the grass unnoticed. Confusion mixed with rising fear. Was it a burglar? A prank by a friend? My mind blanked on what to do next. Call someone? Run to a neighbor? Instead, instinct propelled me around the side of the house, through the gate, and bursting in through the back door into the kitchen. I slammed it shut, the sound echoing, and yelled upstairs with a voice that cracked from strain. "Who's up there? Who's home?" The house responded with oppressive silence at first, amplifying my pounding heartbeat. Then from above, a voice floated down. Male, deep, but oddly modulated, trying too hard to sound casual. "Jake, come on up here." It wasn't Dad's warm baritone, not my brother's teasing tone, not anyone I recognized. A chill raced down my spine. How did they know my name? Terror paralyzed me for a split second before adrenaline kicked in. I didn't approach the stairs. Instead, I grabbed the cordless phone from its charging cradle on the kitchen counter, a beige relic with big buttons, and sprinted back outside to the front yard, dialing Mom's number with shaking fingers. Words tumbled out in a frantic rush when she answered. "Mom, there's someone in the house." I saw them in the window, and they called my name from upstairs. Skepticism laced her initial response. "Jake, this isn't funny. Don't joke about that." But as I broke down into sobs describing the shadow in the voice, her tone shifted to alarm. "I'm turning around now. Stay outside," she said, and I could hear the urgency as she hung up. Unbeknownst to me, she called the police immediately after. Minutes stretched like hours as I paced the lawn, eyes glued to that upstairs window, ball forgotten in the grass. No further sign of movement. Then sirens approached. A police cruiser pulled up just as Mom's minivan screeched around the corner. She jumped out, rushing to hug me tightly, her face pale with worry. I pointed shakily at the window. The two officers, uniformed and authoritative, nodded and entered the house first, hands on holsters, while Mom held me back. I waited outside with her, her arm around my shoulders, both of us tense. They were inside for what felt like forever. 10, 15 minutes before emerging. "All clear," someone said, explaining they checked every room, closet, under beds, even the attic access. No one there, no signs of forced entry. Mom thanked them profusely, but as they drove off, her relief mixed with doubt. Back inside, she quizzed me gently but persistently. "Are you sure you didn't imagine it? If this was a prank, you'll be in big trouble for scaring me and wasting police time." I insisted tearfully that I wasn't lying, but her hesitant, "I believe you," felt hollow, her eyes searching mine for cracks in the story. The rest of the day passed in a blur of unease. Mom made my favorite lunch, grilled cheese and tomato soup, trying to normalize things, but I couldn't shake the incident. As evening fell, the house lights on, I avoided going upstairs alone, sticking close to her. Bedtime came reluctantly. I lay in my room, walls covered in sports posters, shelves with model cars and trophies, staring at the ceiling, replaying the shadows shift, the voices' eerie calm. Exhaustion eventually won, pulling me into a fitful sleep. I don't know the exact hour I awoke. The digital clock glowed somewhere in the dark, but it wasn't from a dream. A subtle rustle in the room, like fabric brushing against something, jolted me upright. Heart racing, I blinked rapidly, eyes adjusting to the moonlight filtering through half-open blinds. Familiar shapes emerged, my dresser with clothes spilling out. The closet door slightly ajar as always. Bookshelves crammed with comics. Then across the room, not far from the foot of my bed, an unfamiliar outline. Tall, broad-shouldered, utterly still. For a heartbeat, I thought it a trick of shadows or piled laundry, but then it moved ever so slightly. A shift of weight, a breath. It was a person, a full-grown intruder standing in my bedroom, silent as death. Pure terror surged. I didn't think, I just screamed. A high-pitched guttural wail that tore from my throat, echoing through the house. The figure reacted instantly, darting across the room in long strides, wrenching open my window with a scrape, and leaping out onto the small decorative awning below. I heard the thud of feet landing, then scrambling away. My parents burst through my door seconds later, lights flipping on, faces etched with alarm. "What happened?" Mom cried, rushing to my side. Dad, in his pajamas, leaned out the window, scanning the backyard with a flashlight he grabbed from the nightstand, then bolted downstairs barefoot, out the back door, yelling into the night. He returned minutes later, out of breath and frustrated, shaking his head. "No one there. Must have run off fast." They called the police again, who arrived promptly for another sweep, this time finding the window unlatched, confirming my story. Reports were filed, the neighborhood patrolled that night, but no leads emerged. We changed locks the next day, added motion sensor lights, but the questions gnawed. How long had he been inside? Had he snuck in during the day, hiding in closets or the attic, eavesdropping to learn my name? Watched me from the window while I played, or climbed in and out multiple times via that awning? And the most horrifying, what had he done while I slept, standing there in the darkness, perhaps for hours? The experience left indelible marks. For months I slept with the lights on, jumping at every noise. Therapy helped unpack the trauma, but even today, decades later, I conduct nightly security checks. Doors, windows, shadows in corners. That day stripped away a child's carefree trust, replacing it with a vigilant awareness of hidden dangers lurking in the most familiar places.